Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. What I wanted to show you today is I'm going to start working on this wood stove, and I picked this wood stove up at a scrapyard. On Friday, Tony, Daniel, and myself went over to the local scrapyard before we started the knife class on Saturday morning just to pick up some scrap metal and some materials to play with on the forge, and I found this wood stove in the scrapyard. I'm going to show you this thing. It's heavy duty. The thing probably weighs 45 pounds. It's made out of really heavy sheet metal. Looks to me like it was homemade. I'm not positive of that, but I want to show you what it looks like. We're going to clean it up, and we're actually going to fire it up to make sure you know that everything's still solid, doesn't leak anywhere, anything like that. But I paid $40 for this, a lawnmower blade, a 3/4 inch Allen wrench, a pickaxe tool head, a rotor that I'm using, a 6-inch rotor to use as a form for bending, and we picked up a couple other pairs of pliers and some other small tools, and we got all of it for 40 bucks. So basically I paid 40 bucks for this and everything else was free, the way I look at it. But I want to show you this because it's a really nice heavy duty sheet steel stove that I got for 40 bucks from a scrapyard. All I got to do is clean it up and it should be ready to go. Now, this thing is made out of heavy, like 1/8 inch plate steel. I mean, this thing is probably 40 pounds of weight right here, maybe even a little heavier than that. The draft gates work great on it. The door works fine. It's a little sticky because it's rusted, but it works just fine. It's got an expanded metal grate in the bottom of it that can be lifted up to clean out the ash box or the ash bed that connects down here to these vent gates. It has a pipe fitting down here at the bottom, right here, an inlet fitting. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to show you what that's for in a minute. The back of it has a piece of pipe welded straight to it of heavy gauge pipe that's 3-inch, so it's standard with an elbow. The top of this thing is a piece of sheet steel. It's got 3 holes drilled in it, and it's got lips welded onto it that just slide right over the top of this thing to hold it on. You gotta kind of finagle the thing around to get it on there, and that's how it fits. Now, this is the interesting part of this stove. That 3/4 inch piece of pipe comes right through this open area, and this is the fire box. So your fire is, there's no flames exposed to this area at all. It's all held inside this fire box. So what that's going to create is it's going to create a warm airspace in here. And if you connect a fan, a blower fan, to this pipe here, very similar to what you do with like a brake drum forge with a small blower motor, you would have convective air being forced out of here, and the only place it can come out is going to be through these top holes that are vented in here. So basically what you're doing is you're forcing warm air out of this oven and into the airspace with the use of some type of blower if you wanted to do that. Or you could just use this thing as is, because it's not going to matter whether you've got that forced air in there or not. The forced air has nothing to do with the fire whatsoever because the fire box is contained. It only has to do with moving the warm air inside to drive it out from these holes. And if you wanted to, you could drill a few more holes in here, but remember that warm air rises. So if you're forcing air in from the bottom and you're pushing it, it's going to come out the top of this thing and warm the area that much better. So it's a multifunctional type stove that can be used with a blower motor or stand alone, because like I said, that fire box is self-contained. Okay, like I said, I'm just going to use a sanding block to get rid of the majority of this surface rust, and that's really all this is. There's no real heavy corrosion in here other than that surface rust. There's no pitting or anything like that in here, any holes. So melt that right into the metal and season that thing right back up where it belongs. So that's fine. And to be honest, I'll probably never use that forced air system on this thing anyway. I'll probably just use it as a firebox. but this needs to be rethreaded a little bit if I were going to use it for that. I kind of like the fact that this olive oil is kind of a solid right now because it spreads really, really thick. So when I heat this stove up, it's going to season it really, really well. All right, so I'm going to let the material in there burn down now. And then I'm going to come back again tomorrow or the next day when it dries out a little bit, put some dry wood in there, fire the thing back up again, put another coat of oil on it, season it up again real well. And then I'm going to put it in a wall tent, and we're going to do some cooking videos out of that wall tent. The advantage to something like this for the price tag is that if you notice, you have a large chamber inside that traps hot air with a platform and a lid, which means you have an oven. So now we have a cook surface, an oven surface, and a heating element for our shelter, all in one apparatus that we paid nominal money for out of a scrapyard. And it's going to work out really well for its purpose. Okay guys, well, I appreciate your views, I appreciate your support, I appreciate everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks guys.